All right, so today we're going to talk a little bit about the 1099 miscellaneous and NEC forms. I know it's thrown some people into a tailspin thinking that it's super complicated now, but in my opinion, it makes it even easier to file than in the past. And one thing I've learned in the groups is that people didn't realize that the 1099 miscellaneous form had two different due dates. So talking about 2019, box 7, which is where the non-employee compensation went into before, was due January 31st. But the whole rest of the form was not due until March 1st if you filed on paper, or March 31st if you filed electronically. So none of the due dates of the forms have changed. They just each have their own form. And the due date issue is the reason that the IRS reactivated the 1099 NEC, which was used for the last time previously in the 1982 tax year, for the sole purpose of reducing the late fees that the IRS would assess on people, because their system could only have one due date. So if you sent in a 1099 miscellaneous last year, February 15th, and it had one box 7 filled out and all the rest of them were rent or royalty, all of the forms would be marked late and you would get assessed a penalty on each form. Because a lot of people, like I said earlier, didn't know that there was two different due dates. I know I keep talking about the due dates because it's interesting to me. I could be crazy, but every single year I read all the IRS instructions on the 1099 miscellaneous and 1099K. Just because they don't really change, but just to refresh my memory. All right, so we've got, this is what the 1099 miscellaneous form looks like. Box 7 is replaced with direct sales of $5,000 or more. This affects people who sell a lot of wholesale to vendors. I don't know if this affects any of your clients specifically, but if you have a client that sells a lot of wholesale product to one vendor, then you fill out the payer name, the recipient name, and the tax ID numbers, and you check this box, and you're done. This would be rent that you pay your landlord unless they are in the business of property management, or if they're an S-corp, are the most common ones that are on the 1099. And with the 1099 miscellaneous, again, you just fill out the payer's name, tax ID number, recipient information, and the amount of non-employee compensation. And I don't know why the 1099 NEC also has the direct sales box to check. Not very common is withholding federal income tax or state income tax on the 1099. I usually only ever withhold it on new vendors when I don't get their 1099 or their W-9. And then I hold on to it until they give me their W-9, and then I issue them a check for it. So it's just a temporary hold on their money. Does anybody here have a question on 1099s that I didn't already cover? Okay. Oh, earlier we were talking about how if you make a mistake on a 1099, if you set one and they should not have received one, you just fill out the payer's name, the recipient's name, leave all the rest of it blank, and then click void. Or if you filled one out and a number was wrong, like maybe you included something that was paid for with a credit card and it should not have been included, then you fill it all out exactly how it should have been when you filed it the first time, and you mark corrected, and then you're done. The IRS will void the one that was sent in or overwrite it with the correct information. If you send another one in and you forget to mark void or corrected, it will duplicate what the IRS has on file. So you always want to make sure that you double check the forms. And I recommend using a service like Tax or Track 1099 or any of the other 1099 filing services out there. Okay. I don't know. I feel like I rambled a little bit, but did you guys have any questions on that I didn't cover on the 1099s?
I just want to make sure I was hearing right. So the 1099 miscellaneous are still due on by the 31st?
No, they're
Or
due
am I getting the names wrong?
The 1099 miscellaneous is due March 31st if you e-file, or March 1st if you paper file. The 1099 NEC is due January 31st. Well,
Okay.
February 1st, because the 31st is a Sunday.
Okay, so yeah, I thought I was hearing wrong. So yes, because the NEC is what I'm going to want for like
Subcontractors.
the subcontractors, lawyers, accountants.
Lawyers go on the miscellaneous.
Oh, they are. Okay.
Let
All
me
right. Updating my note on that.
share my screen again here. So lawyers used to be box 10, they're still box 10. So gross proceeds paid to an attorney still goes on the miscellaneous.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, that is rent, royalty, wholesale, gross proceeds paid to an attorney, and miscellaneous or non-employee compensation are the ones that I do on a fairly regular basis.
Okay, non-employee compensation goes on the miscellaneous as well.
Nope, it goes on the NEC.
On the
NEC,
NEC, okay.
here, just you guys, this is so dumb. NEC stands for non-employee compensation. It sure is. Oh, and for you guys, do you guys have any clients who have subcontractors, vendors, freelancers, anybody that lives out of the US? If you do, you will want to make sure that so that they don't get a W-9, they get a W-8 BEN. And based on how they fill that out, it'll determine if they get a 1099. They do if they are US citizens and file a US tax return. If they worked at all in the United States physically, like on our soil, then they would get a 1042. But if they're not US citizens and haven't been to the US in 2020, then most of the time they don't get anything. Occasionally, there are countries that require, based on the treaty that we have with them, would be required to get a form. But I always forget what countries those are. But if you pay all your out of the country contractors with PayPal, then you don't have to send them any form because that would go under the 1099K. So I hope that makes sense because I've been seeing a lot of that question lately because we're so global now. You can have freelancers or anybody that lives anywhere in the US, and I said US, anywhere on the globe. Okay, I don't see any other questions in the chat, so I think we'll be done for today. But hop in, let me know if you have questions before we go, because I can stick around for about another 5 minutes. All right. We'll see you guys all next week on Zoom and every day in the Facebook group. Thanks, guys. Bye.